So I'm somebody who believes in the research around intergenerational historical stuff, not just around race, because every culture has internalized or has had to live through some huge traumatic thing. Okay, and understanding that. Um, well, let me backtrack. Life is a continuum. To it's great to create something today, but if you create something today that is detached from who we've been, you're going to end up right back in the same place. So so for me, if I were doing something like that, the first thing I would do would be to encourage people to look at the historical context that's led them to be who they are. Um, you know, really get in touch with their ancestry kind of thing, um, and understand what happened to them, so that when you create, you really are creating something new and not just a repetition of the history. Because one of the things that is a little scary for me about what's happening right now with COVID-19 is some of the things that are happening, and this may sound very controversial, but it's just how I see it from my understanding of history, remind me a lot of how people were conditioned um, before World War II in Germany. It's very, for me, I have friends who are Jewish who are very triggered right now. And I was talking to one particular friend who she was just triggered, but she wasn't linking it to the history. Once we talked a little bit about this looks like this and this looks like that, she was able to have a sense of peace because she understood why she was getting triggered, right? So sometimes when people come together, they get triggered and they don't know how or why they're being triggered, and it has to do with unresolved issues from the past. So I would say as you're starting to create something new, create it with the awareness that we are inextricably linked to our past. And if we don't have some sense of that past, you don't have to know every detail, right? But if we don't have some sense of that past, we're likely to recreate it, thinking that we're doing something new when all we're doing is leading ourselves right back down the old path. And then when we get to a crossroads in the path, we're going, how did this happen? And it's like, well, there was no awareness that we were just part of the continuum. It's great to be creative. I'm an artist, so it's like we live on that's our pump, right? We thrive on that. But when we're looking to transform, if we don't acknowledge the shadow of our past, the shadow owns us, and it will lead us down whatever path the shadow wants, and we won't even realize that we're doing that. And then one day the shadow just engulfs us and we're like, what just happened here? But it's like, well, when we own the shadow, when we acknowledge the shadow, we become stronger than the shadow. And so the shadow doesn't have us anymore. We have it. And then we can choose what we do with it. So my advice would be, so many people say, that's in the past. Why do we have to talk about that? Well, a lot of people don't really understand the past. And without that understanding, we keep tripping over each other when we really are here to love each other and to be compassionate and forgiving, and to create a world of joy and peace and beauty. And we can do that. But we need to understand that to create something new, we need to understand what we created in the past that was great and what we created in the past that wasn't so